Welcome to Our Devil. Today we are taking a look at r/am I the antagonist. Our first story is from Laws and Brawls. Am I the antagonist for staying true to my threats after my dad died? My dad died unexpectedly last week and my sister Jess and I lost our mom last year to a mix of cancer and the virus. From how our family acted in the past over scavenging over dead people's things, both Jess and I decided to send out a family memo on no one is to enter or take anything from our parents' house until we get there. Both Jess and I work on the West Coast, so it takes some time to get there with all of our kids and family. I saw several notifications from my parents' Ring doorbell and I'm a lawyer. I reminded my family we will prosecute. Jess and I are on the same page. Jess gets to my parents' house first and notices stuff is missing, and my parents had security cameras and an Alexa show. It shown my cousin taking stuff from the house. So Jess did what we agreed on and called the police, and two of our cousins was arrested. Because it was over $1,000, both are looking at felonies. My cousin said my dad promised him this stuff and I have my dad's will making me executor of the estate. I told him he should have waited to file a claim with estate, and everyone was warned about what would happen. Jess and I don't have the best relationship with our extended family and we are not dropping charges. Because of this drama, Dad was quietly cremated with no service, and we plan to hold one when scattered our parents' ashes at Jess's house in a tree planted for them. My last living grandma is upset about it, but she sided with my cousins and aunt, saying we are too tough on having them arrested. Comment by Zealousy Divide 6. Not the antagonist. Your dad created a will and made you the executor of the estate for a reason. If your cousins were actually meant to have the thousands of dollars worth of items they took, they could have waited until you arrived. It sucks that they got arrested, but the first thing on their minds when losing a relative shouldn't be, I should take items from their house, or, I'm owed these items, let me go collect. Plus you and your sister gave advanced warning. So it's not like you just randomly decided to call the police. Comment by MD Thomas. So your dad had a will naming you the executor and your relatives decided to steal from your dad's estate. Comment by Prodigious Wind. There is nothing quite so unedifying as the rush by distant family members to grab what they can when someone dies. Definitely not the antagonist. Our next story is from Starless012. Am I the antagonist for going on my sister's bachelorette trip instead of taking my daughter to see her paternal family? Twice a year I take my daughter to see my ex's family, per our agreement. However, my sister had a bachelorette trip during the same week I was supposed to take my daughter to see them. My sister has children and so do the majority of the people she invited, so she decided to make the trip kid-friendly and asked me to bring my daughter too. I called my ex and told him about the trip since I needed his permission to take our daughter to Paris, and he said it was fine, but it was pretty obvious he was busy and was just trying to get me off the phone. We never had a follow-up conversation, and I don't think he made the connection that I was supposed to take her to see his family then, but 2 days into the trip he called me and was furious that I hadn't taken her to see them. He said his family had been waiting for us and I needed to go to them immediately. He kept bringing up our agreement and telling me off for not sticking to it, and I ended up hanging up on him because he wasn't listening to anything I said. Even now that we're home, he keeps bringing up the fact that I broke our agreement and how that means he no longer feels obliged to stick to it either. Am I the antagonist? Comment by UnoTrueGen. Info. Why is it on you to take her to see his family? What's the agreement? Comment by Com Initial. Info. Why is he not responsible for taking your child to see his side of the family? Why does that fall on you? Comment by Pasta Mail 0 NSTER. Info. Why couldn't you just ask if you can bring her a different week? Our next story is from Throwawhile524655. Am I the antagonist for not letting my mother-in-law be the first person to hold my baby? When I, female 26, met my husband's male 34 mom, I hoped for a healthy mother figure type relationship. She's okayish, but she can be a little controlling given that my husband is her only child. She tends to act super protective of him. When I got pregnant, mother-in-law made a request to be the first person to hold my son after he's born. She wanted to be in the delivery room with me, but I refused to let her. My husband said he'd keep her out of the room under the condition that she be the first person to hold the baby. I didn't agree but didn't disagree as well. just stayed silent. The baby was born days ago. All my husband was worried about was having his mom be the first to meet the baby. But she was out of town attending a friend's daughter's wedding. He said she wouldn't be back till 2 days later. Mom and sister already came to help and they held my son as they were helping me after my husband went back to work. I had no to help and they were my go-to. Mother-in-law and my husband knew. They both went off and started throwing a fit, saying that I betrayed her, and that I made a promise then broke it. My husband tried to get her to calm down after she came home lashing out. But she scolded us both then walked out. He blew up at me saying I screwed up and violated the agreement we had. I said that mom and sister were helping me out. And held the baby, so what? He got more pissed and claimed I had no respect for his mom and her wishes and told me that I hurt her feelings and ruined her grandbaby's birth memory. I couldn't keep arguing. He called me unbelievably selfish and demanded I fix my mistake, but I wasn't sure what he meant by that. Like redo the baby's birth and have his mom be the first to hold him? He didn't like my sarcasm and said that what I did was sneaky and cold-hearted. He said he should have let his mom in the delivery room, otherwise none of this would have happened. They're both are still salty about it and are sulking hard. Am I the antagonist? Comment by Sunrise Library. Not the antagonist. Why do your husband and your mother-in-law seem to think that her needs are more important than yours? I've never heard of anything like this before. You've just given birth. And your needs and the baby's needs are of paramount importance. You need help from your family if and when you want it. To refuse help from your own mother and sister just for MIL's sake would be detrimental to you. Also, your mother-in-law goes to a wedding just when her grandchild is born and still expects you to keep your family at bay? Ridiculous. Your mother-in-law needs to know that your health and well-being means that the baby is well cared for. Tell your husband to grow up and see what is important here. Which is you and your baby. Mother-in-law doesn't get a say. Privileges just because she says so. Comment by Puppy Farts 99. Wouldn't the first person to hold the baby always be you? The mom? Exclamation mark. Your mother-in-law and your husband are both antagonists. Comment by Unhappy Amoeba 9918. Not the antagonist. Normally I would say something deep, meaningful or reassuring. Our next story is from Rabbit Rabbit 12. Am I the antagonist for not telling my sister I'm pregnant too, then not apologizing enough? Let me start by saying my sister, 36 female, and I, 34 female, have had a rocky relationship. I had a childhood illness that meant a lot of attention was focused on me instead of her, which she has resented me for. I admit that in my teen years and adult life I've had some pretty selfish, attention-seeking moments, but that I'm still trying to work on myself because it's not who I want to be. In February my husband, 36 male, and I found out I was pregnant. Even though I had health issues I wasn't considered high risk. But we still decided not to tell anyone until the 12-week scan, including family, just in case. In March, my sister texts me saying she's missed her period, taken a test and is pregnant too. I called her and congratulated her but didn't tell her I was also pregnant because of what my husband and I agreed. This was grievance number 1 because she says I lied to her by not telling her the truth. As time went on I didn't know how I was going to tell her I was pregnant too. I didn't want to steal her spotlight or take any attention away from her like I did with my childhood cancer. But I also admit that I didn't want us to compare pregnancies or have our parents compare us. I guess I didn't want to share my spotlight either. After the 12-week scan we agreed to tell parents. But because I didn't know how to tell my sister I thought it best to tell my parents then ask their opinion on how to do it. We had both sets of parents over and told them at the same time. This is grievance number 2, not inviting her. My sister knew something was going on and messaged my mom. And so I said I would tell her myself. She called me that evening and I told her. She asked, "So you're ahead of me? Why wasn't I invited today?" I told her we wanted to tell parents first and I didn't know how to tell her. And she hung up on me. It's been 5 months. I've sent her a letter explaining my actions and a bunch of flowers saying that I should have invited her with the parents. But she still blocked me on everything. She's had an engagement party that we weren't invited to and had missed my mom's birthday and uncle visiting from a different country because I was there. So I can tell she's still livid. I think she wants me to grovel and try harder at apologizing. But I'm now upset at her behavior. It's reminding me of how she's been pretty nasty to me in the past, saying I asked for cancer and how she has previously reacted to any good news in my life. We've never really been close, and I'd say we're equally bad at not running to each other's aid. She didn't support me through my cancers. I didn't go to her housewarming, etc. Closing parenthesis. I need an outside perspective and am willing to answer my questions to understand if I'm an antagonist and should try harder to apologize for lying to her and not inviting her to the reveal. Comment by No1050081972. This is going to be unpopular. But nah. There is a reason there are a ton of support groups for siblings of child cancer patients. It's because they are typically forgotten by their parents because all focus is on the child that's sick. Not that focusing on the cancer patient is wrong. But the other children become neglected and feel unloved. It sounds like from your post your parents were not good to your sister and she seems to have a lot of trauma around that. Coupled with, by your own admission, you were also not great to her. I'm not saying that her response is correct. But it seems like this was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for her. I agree. You shouldn't have told when she told you she was pregnant. You should have reached out to her maybe a week or so later. Explain you didn't want to steal her thunder. And that you are also pregnant. You absolutely should have told her when you told your parents. She has likely felt like the outsider her whole life because your parents have placed you at the center. And she got pregnancy hormones raging through her and she's taking this super personally and feeling ostracized from her family again. Honestly. Only Oz here are your parents for creating this mess. I would just give her time and space. Send her a baby gift when her baby is born and a wedding present if fences aren't mended by then. And just focus on your baby. Comment by Appropriate Royal 17. I don't know. Something feels off about this post. I don't think you are the antagonist and your parents massively dropped the ball with your sister. You and your parents may have to accept that you and your sister will never have a good relationship. Comment by On Too Much Adderall. Nah, but tell her about how you didn't want to tell anyone ahead of the 12-week scan. It's a much more reasonable explanation than that you didn't know how to tell her. Of course. You're not obligated to tell anyone about your own health issues or concerns. And I still think it's nah if you don't. It's just that if I were in the sister's position, I feel like I would be a lot more understanding if this were the reason rather than you just didn't want to tell me or didn't know how. Our next story is from Donkey Oak 9668. Am I the antagonist for keeping my grandpa's inheritance? My grandpa passed away earlier this year and he essentially left me everything via a trust. I'm an only child, but I grew up with my first cousins and we were all very close in age. All of us are less than 2 years apart. When we started graduating high school, they all left the state to go to various universities. I got into some pretty good schools, but I decided to stay and go to a local university so I can take care of my grandpa. He lived alone and needed someone to give him his medication, help him change, cook for him, take him to doctor's appointments, figure out his Medicare paperwork, etc. My mom, aunt, and uncle, his kids, couldn't give two shits about him at that point and they used to play hot potato with whoever had to take care of him. So I stepped up and did that while going to school locally. I did that for over 5 years until he passed away. Plus I used to take care of him even while I was in high school, so it's closer to 9 years. About 2 years into college, he sat me down with a lawyer, put his house and all his assets in a trust, and made me the trustee. He told me he's leaving everything to me and that I can decide what to do with it. I could sell the house and split it with everyone. Or keep it and live in it. Or rent it out. Etc. My mom/aunt/uncle were pretty blindsided by the trust and had assumed that they were gonna get the house and split it 3 ways. My cousins were also extremely upset that they weren't given anything. They want me to sell the house and split it with everyone, split 7 ways. 3 kids plus 4 first cousins including me. I said no. I decided to keep it. Live in it. And I've been renting out 2 of the rooms. As you can imagine. They're all extremely upset and have been pestering/guilting/threatening me. Am I the antagonist here? Comment by Gardenreed. Not the antagonist. I'm sorry you lost your grandfather. It looks like you had a great relationship. As for the rest of your family, You reap what you sow. Comment by Flag City Diva. Refer them to the lawyer who your grandfather used to draft the will. Comment by Algebra Lover. Not the antagonist. You gave up years of your life to care for your grandfather. He rewarded you for that time and energy. You have chosen to live in the home. You should not be bullied into giving up your home, so that your mom/aunt/uncle and cousins can profit off your grandfather's death. If your family had needed to pay someone to care for your grandfather, an assisted living situation goes for over $5,000 USD per month. You did it for free for over 5 years. That is $60,000 per year that he might have had to pay. Had you not been there for him, 5 years of it would have cost over $300,000. You earned that home and whatever else you were left. Our next story is from Sunny Sunshine Lover. Am I the antagonist for pointing out my sister-in-law and her partner's poor financial situation? I have been a silent reader of this sub, but today I made an account just so I can post this story and to know if I was an antagonist in this situation. My husband, age 40, and I have been trying to get pregnant ever since we got married. We had no luck for 3 years of trying to conceive, so we went to a doctor and found out that one of us has a problem. Allow me to not go into detail. Because of this we tried IVF but was unsuccessful after 3 tries. We finally got pregnant last year but I miscarried. So, we made the hard decision of giving up and accepted that we aren't meant to become parents. Last week during my birthday party where we invited some friends and family members, my mother-in-law asked how's the IVF going and I told her that H and I are no longer trying. Given everything that we've been through, mother-in-law said that she understands and assured us that she supports our decision. Father-in-law also said some words of encouragement. I was relieved that everyone seems to be supportive. When my sister-in-law said something along the lines of, "I'm glad you guys finally made that decision. God chooses only those who are up to the challenge to become parents, you know." There was an awkward silence, then she continued, "You should not adopt either." I should mention that sister-in-law and her partner have 3 children and she is currently pregnant with baby number 4. Her partner works part-time at a local supermarket while sister-in-law stays home with the kids. So yes, they're not in a good financial situation and have to rely on benefits to get by. I answered sister-in-law with, "Yeah. I'm sure God chooses only the right people to become parents. I wonder what the qualifications are though, because clearly financial stability isn't one of them." Another awkward silence before father-in-law changed the topic. Later that night I got a message from sister-in-law calling me an antagonist for looking down on them because they are poor. I did not reply, but I feel like an antagonist because of what I said. Comment by So Sleepy Sue. Not the antagonist. Clearly compassion and intelligence aren't on that qualification list either. Comment by Sputrosa. Not the antagonist. It's very telling that father-in-law changed the topic. You said what everyone else was thinking. Apparently. What she said was inhumanely callous. I'm so sorry. Comment by Standard Park. Not the antagonist. She served the crap. Our next story is from AITA Parent 28. Am I the antagonist for gifting one daughter a house but not the other? So I, female 47, have 2 daughters, Belle, female 25, and Elise, female 23. My husband is a doctor and I am an engineer. So we are financially well off. While we don't make enough to be considered rich, we make enough to give our children a privileged life. When my daughters were in high school, my husband and I realized we had around approximately $150K each in savings for our children's educations. We sat down and discussed with the girls about their college funds. Belle has always wanted to go to college, while Elise was more neutral about the whole thing. Well, in a few years Belle got into a very good, but expensive college and ended up wiping out the money plus some loans. She finished paying them off a year ago. And everything was fine. My younger daughter never really cared much for college. She got a degree in business from a community college and landed a job with a company. As a result, she didn't really need to spend all of the money we had saved for college. So I put it away. A few months ago, Elise was visiting me and she was complaining about a house she and her husband really loved, but was out of her price range. I felt bad for her and discussed it with my husband, who suggested I give her the college money. I thought over it and decided to. And gave it to her. She was very happy and cried a lot. Well, they finally moved into their house this last week. And Elsie invited the whole family to come visit and see the new house. When Belle arrived, she was taken aback. Since the house was large and in a nice area. She asked how Elise was able to afford it. And Elise offhandedly mentioned that I gave her half the money. Belle didn't say anything. But got really quiet. And didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. I called her yesterday and asked if something was wrong. And she kinda exploded at me. Shouting that I was showing favoritism by giving Elise the money for the house. And it was unfair. I tried to explain that it was the college money that she had already received, but Belle said that she had to take out loans despite our contribution. While Elise wouldn't have to worry about the house loans. I tried to explain my side. But she blocked me. And must have told my sister. Because I got a call berating me for treating Belle less equally. My husband says that Belle is just acting entitled. And to let it blow over. But I feel bad because it is true that Elise has no loans at all. While Belle was saddled with debt at a young age. Was I the antagonist? Edit. Some people think this is fake because I'm not responding to comments. I went to work. And was unable to check my phone for several hours. Just wanted to clarify. Comment by Educational Fact 9976. Not the antagonist. But, parents of Reddit. FFS, be more open and upfront with your kids regarding finances. How do you expect them to plan their life if they have no idea how much support they can expect from you? Comment by Hotskit. You gave both your kids exactly the same. How they spent it is on them. Belle could have gone to a cheaper school and achieved the same educational result. She chose not to. You are not the antagonist, but eldest is an entitled aw. Comment by Astronaut Fluffy 8710. Nah. This seems like poor communication. I doubt Belle would have had such a strong reaction if you'd talked to her beforehand about it. If a parent is giving a financial gift to one of their children, it is relevant to the others. And I wonder if she understood it was money from the college fund. The way she found out wasn't great, and hopefully she will calm down like your husband said. If you enjoy this video, smash the like button, and subscribe to our Devil. See you in the next one.